All right, everybody, welcome back to the Friday Night Prepper Pre-Party Show. We've got a good guest for you tonight. I'm going to introduce her in just a second. Although some of you have been with me for a while, you may remember she's actually a returning guest. We're going to give people just a minute here to get through the commercials and get some notifications out. I see we've already got a good crowd starting in the chat, and Cold War Lee, my friend Lee, Cold War Prepper, and my friend Sassy Gal Prepping are going to be helping us out with some moderation to get us started. I see Prepping by Faith there, Lori's Thrifty Kitchen Pantry, Beretta Vandy, welcome to the chat. I saw some people earlier here. Bleecker family, thank you so much for joining us. Forager Chick, my friend, how are you tonight? And Corey Lee Slater, thank you so much. See if I Shane Lewis, thank you. And if I missed anybody, I am so sorry. I see Dragon Slayer, Angie Hart, thank you very much. Appreciate you both. And we're going to go ahead and get started here in just a second. I want to let you know that this is, if your first time on the channel, I am Prepping with Sarge, and I do videos on Tuesdays and Fridays. I usually do live streaming, although next week I will not be live streaming. I've got a family event going on, so I will be dropping a pre-recorded video. Always talk about all things preparedness here, everything from gardening to foraging to I just started doing prepper pantry hauls. We do knife reviews here, flashlight reviews, all kinds of cool stuff like that. So if it's the first time on the channel and you like what you see, please consider subscribing and drop a thumbs up at some point during the stream. The only real rule I have for live streams is that it is perfectly okay to disagree with me and to give me a hard time. Please be kind to my guests and please be kind to each other in the chat. If I find comments that are people are trolling each other in the chat, I usually will just delete those, so don't even waste your time with it. It's just going to probably get taken down anyways. Other than that, have a good time. We should see some more people popping in here as we go. And with all that, let me please introduce my good friend, returning guest, Cynthia, who has come to take over my live stream. Cynthia runs the channel called The Bigs Prep. How are you doing tonight?
I am awesome. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great, and thank you so much for coming back.
Anytime.
Tell us a little bit.
It's always a good time.
Always fun. Always fun. Tell us a little bit about your channel, your content. Where can the audience find you?
So I'm Cynthia from The Bigs Prep, and we bring positivity to prepping. Everyday solution-based, attainable thinking for prepping issues or things that we should be aware of as a community in the prepper community. So there are a lot of videos out there that present problems. On my channel, I present solutions that are attainable for anyone.
Absolutely. And you're on YouTube, which I put a link to that in the description, and we'll be dropping that link for people that are in chat throughout the night. But if you're watching this on replay, go ahead and just click into the description, and you'll see a link there. It takes you right over to Cynthia's channel. Subscribe there. And also, you are on Instagram, and are you on any other social media besides that?
I'm on Instagram, and then on Facebook, on my other channel, The Bigs Homestead Kitchen. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook with The Bigs Homestead Kitchen as well. So 2 channels.
Awesome. Well, let's start there. Since we're doing prepper type videos and prepper content, what's your experience been like with social media so far? If you were to, I know a lot of people in chat are also doing prepper channels or on that kind of spectrum of content. And some of them are bigger than me. Some of them are smaller than us. What would your advice be to somebody who's like just starting to get their channel started in either prepping or homesteading? What kind of thoughts would you have for
them? Show stuff, but don't show everything. 100%. There are things that we're prepping that you don't get to see. There are aspects of our lives that you don't get to see, which is, you don't need to show everything. And doing stuff for likes or clicks, we don't do that either on either of my channels. And Mr. Biggs, my husband, he's on a lot, and there's a lot of aspects of what we do that don't come on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook. And then, I like to keep it positive. That's just who I am. There's a lot of channels out there that do negativity, and that's fine. And I watch them, but I like to present solution-based thinking. Yeah, but don't show everything. Don't do that to yourself.
I agree on both of those. I just did an everyday carry video this past week, and a couple people commented, "Well, that's fine, but where's your pew pew pew?" I do not show I don't show everything on my channel, and
No.
just because I don't show it to you doesn't mean that I'm not taking care of that. Did you freeze on me?
Yeah, and this platform doesn't particularly care for that either.
No, unfortunately, I think that the future for that content is going to be not good. It's probably going to come a day where they're just going to shut all that down.
Correct.
And you also mentioned being positive too, which I think it's one of the things I really like about your channel, actually, is that when I go to watch one of your videos, not only are you typically teaching something new, but you do it with like a, hey, this is important because you're going to need to learn to come up with other ways to feed yourself, right? And things like that. And you do it with not scare tactics, not fear porn, just like these are skills that everybody can learn. And that's why we're doing this. Like, we put ourselves out there, and I give up some anonymity by doing this, and you do too, and so do the other prepper channels. But we do it because we're trying to help people and there's not a lot of money in it, right?
Oh God, no. No. And my YouTube revenue goes to the troops. So that's why I make videos. My sons wanted me to start my channels, and they're the ones who benefit the most. The troops do. My son Nathan is a sergeant in the Army, and he's deployed right now. And so all of my revenue is to them.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit more about that? I'm glad you mentioned that. How can people help support that?
So I don't do PayPal and super chats. I mean, I don't really know. I don't like asking people for money, but if you wanted to donate to the troops, you can send me an email and I'll send you some different ways to help support the troops. Super chats are never necessary on my channel, but you can always give me one. I'm live every Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Bigs Prep. And so we do a lot of talking, and I usually give an update on my son and where he is in the world, if I can, without compromising his, mission or whatever. Right. Yeah.
And so do you have super thanks on your channel? Is that activated?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to say to my audience, please do not give me any super chats tonight. If you were thinking about that, if you felt like you wanted to do that, you can head over to Cynthia's and give her a super thanks. Any one of her videos should have that clicked on, and she'll make sure that it gets to help support her son and some of his friends and the troops over there. So please do that instead of me for tonight. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We actually adopted a young man who has no family. He just doesn't have anybody. He's 19, great kid. My mom made him a quilt, and we've all been sending him packages and making sure that he gets what he needs as well. And he's now a part of our family. So whenever he needs a place to go on leave or whatever, he's going to come here.
Yeah, and let me just clarify something for the chat. I actually ask my mods to drop links. That's part of what we do here to support each other. So I apologize if that's bothering you, but it is part of how we do our chat here. So you will see links getting dropped throughout the night. And I've asked Lee and I've asked Sassy to help out with that. And if Bacon makes it in, he usually helps me out with that as well. All right, let's go into 2023. Did you set some goals? Some prepper goals?
I did. So actually, I'm going to go into 2023 like I'm shopping with my grandma. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm not going to touch nothing. And I'm not going to act out. I'm just going to try to survive in these streets out here. I mean, 2021, 2020, 2021, 2022. So I just think that if I can come in quiet and, keep my wits about me, that I'm going to be doing great. We do have a couple of goals here on the homestead. We'd like to we have a bunch of blueberry bushes. We need to take those out and relocate them because they're not doing well where they are. And, you know, there's lofty goals. I'd love to get another shed. I'd love to put in some strawberries. We want to hatch chickens this year, chicks, because our feed store, which I've featured on my channel a few times, East Marion Feeds in the Ocala National Forest. Shout out to you. my favorite people. They're unsure if they'll even be able to get chicks this year. So we're going to incubate some and see what we do, you know, see what we can get.
Yep. They're a whole lot of fun. When I lived in Kentucky, I had over 100 chickens. And like when you have chickens, yeah, you don't need TV. Like they are so much entertainment.
They have their own personalities. It's fantastic. You don't realize how quirky they are and how different they all are until you get to know them.
Yep. It's true. And is your, just out of curiosity, because I grow blueberries, are you getting too much sun on them? What's going on?
They're mixed in with a bunch of jasmine, and the jasmine is like suffocating them. And so we're going to try to rescue them out of the jasmine, cut the jasmine back. But no matter what we do, the jasmine is going to be there. So we need to pull those up and relocate them.
Gotcha. Just so they can thrive a little bit more. I gotcha.
Just so they can thrive and have room to do what they need to do. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And for chat, if anybody has any questions, try to throw them in caps so that we can catch them. It'll make it a little bit easier. And if I see it, we'll kind of jump in with that. So for us, for 2023, I have a lot of goals. I'm not going to go into them all, but I want to relearn archery. I did archery when I was a teenager, and then I dropped it, and I haven't picked it back up since. So that's one. And then goal 2, I've already got like a lot of fruit trees and fruit bushes and things like that, but I do want to add maybe a couple little dwarf lime trees, maybe, and maybe kiwi. Kiwi grows, in our part of the world. So that's a possibility too. You mentioned strawberries. Did you notice last year I was trying to get new strawberry crowns to get them started. I had a really hard time finding them. Did you notice that?
My local feed store had some recently, but not a ton. She maybe had 6 or 8 plants, but it's not really. I don't know. It's a weird season in Florida because people don't plant right now. We got about another 4 weeks, and then people will start planting again.
Okay. Yeah. I had a hard time with strawberries, and I had a hard time getting new asparagus crowns last year, but I've already got them on order for this year. Good planning. So speaking of planting, what are your thoughts about, should people we got to start thinking about it, right?
Absolutely. I never stopped thinking about it, to be honest.
Never stopped.
Yeah.
Even the cold weather states like Massachusetts, Maine, New York, you should be starting to make your plans. If you're going to be ordering seeds, now is the time. If you wait, you're not going to get what you want.
Now is the time. Yep. Absolutely. And it's odd, but I found some really great seed deals on Etsy. So it's not somewhere where you would think that you would be able to find seeds, but I got my Seminole pumpkins on Etsy. Not only did they grow fantastic, they grew 3 huge pumpkins, and I got probably 150 seeds to plant this year.
Wow. And do you ever go to the seed swaps or swap with people online or anything like that?
We've tried to get a few in the forest. We've tried to get a few different things going, and it just never seems to take off the way that we need it to. It's usually just me and the lady from the feed store, which is sad, and maybe a few other people. But yeah, unfortunately, it just isn't. People just aren't ready yet, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm ready. So Cynthia actually lives, for those of you, I know Lee was talking about this book series recently with Going Home. The Going Home series, that actually takes place, most of the story takes place in your part of the woods.
It does, yes. Yep. I have all those books.
Yep.
Yeah.
I had a question here from Virginia Bushcrafter and Moringa. Do you know what that is?
Moringa, I do. It is a beautiful immunity bush. You can make tea out of it. Pretty much every part of the whole bush is edible. And I think it has berries. We've tried several times to plant moringa here at the at the homestead, and we have lots of different places for it and just never could get it to take off. We have a beautiful kind of marshy area. We tried it down there. I don't know. The cold always seems to get it. So,
Awesome.
So no advice for me. Sorry.
Yeah.
We've tried it several times and we just can't get it to take off. But my bay leaf tree that I planted is like 9 feet tall now. It's huge.
Dang.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Virginia Bushcrafter, I don't know anything about that plant. I can't help you. I'm sorry.
No.
I'd have to do a little research on it. Thank you, Nerdy Prepper, Treasure Investor. I appreciate that. Who, by the way, won a Morgan last week. Silver Morgan. Congratulations to you on that. For those of you tuning in late tonight or tuning in just now, you don't need to send me any super chats tonight. Actually, I would prefer for tonight if you could head over, if you want to make a donation, and you don't have to. And Cynthia feels the same way. You definitely don't have to. If you want to, you can go to Cynthia's channel and hit the super thanks. Her money, any money she gets, goes to the troops overseas, including her son and a friend of her son's who they had kind of spiritually adopted. So if you want to do that, but please don't feel obligated in any way.
Never. If you need your money for your family and your preps, you use that for that and let YouTube pay me. Just leave a comment on my video and watch the ads. That doesn't cost you anything.
Yep. Advice for nausea from the flu would be greatly appreciated.
I know, Lori.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I just did a plant. I was talking about a plant the other day.
The Simpson stopper, babe. That's where it's at. Have you ever seen that before? The Simpson stopper?
No, what's that?
If you have diarrhea, okay, so look that up. The Simpson stopper. We have them all over the homestead. If you have diarrhea, if you chew that plant, it will stop it almost immediately.
Really?
Yep. It's good stuff. Ginger for nausea is good. Yeah.
Any of the plants that are astringent that are edible should help with diarrhea. The plant I was thinking of, dotted smartweed. I just did a post about this not too long ago. Dotted smartweed also will help with diarrhea. Trying to think what other ones. I'll think about it. Let me think about it. But usually any of the plants that are like kind of bitter and astringent tend to help with diarrhea.
Yeah.
All right. So in terms of food prep, right? We were talking about gardening. We were talking about fruit trees. We were talking about that kind of stuff. I feel pretty strongly that where things are going, that prepper pantry is important, like very important, maybe the most important thing. But is that enough for long term?
No.
Yeah.
No.
And so what if I lived?
I don't know what happened to my light. Yeah. So what I feel is that the prepper pantry gives you the time. It's insurance. It's a cushion. It gives you time to get your proverbial stuff together. So you need to make sure that you're cultivating your edibles, that you've got your garden, you've got your seeds, and start planting those now and make the big mistakes while you still can. But the prepper pantry doesn't keep you long term. I mean, great, you can have rice for 25 years, but eventually you're going to eat all of it. So that's right. Just a thing. Yeah.
So I tend to recommend that beyond the prepper pantry, if you can garden, right? And if you live in an apartment, then there's other options for you. Sometimes you might have access to a community garden, but even if you don't, you can grow some stuff in your window. You can grow some herbs in your window. You can grow some of the lettuces in your window. You can sprout anywhere. Like sprouting doesn't even require sunlight. So, so you can do sprouting, you could do microgreens, and all of that is going to extend your food preps, so even just eating some of this canned foods. What's that? Say again?
I said absolutely. Yeah, you should definitely put microgreens in.
Microgreens. If you can, learn to forage some of the stuff in your area. I recommend usually if you're brand new to foraging, try to learn five of the more common plants in your area. Get outside, learn to recognize those. If you get 5 down, try to get 5 more. And then if you can get to the point where you can identify 5 or 10 for each season, you're in pretty good shape there. You know, you're pretty much, you're going to be able to go outside and walk around and you're going to find some food.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And just start with the easy ones like dandelion greens and your like dollar weed or your, you know, chicory or whatever, wild chicory. Yeah, super easy stuff and easy to eat as well. So some of those things like pokeweed, you have to be very careful how you prepare it and what season you pick it in. Yeah, so yep.
Yep. And Pioneer Spirit mentioned mullein. I can't, there's none of that around here. It's common like everywhere except for where I am. I can't find it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, dandelions don't grow in Florida.
Really?
I've been cultivating these poor dandelions for the last 2 years. I have them and I baby them so desperately so that they'll grow.
Yeah. And wild lettuce is another good one for everybody to learn, which there's like, there's several different types of wild lettuce and they're going to look different. But from what I've read, all the wild lettuces that I've read about all are edible and all have a medicinal quality, which is good for pain. It's actually the compound is in the stem. So you can eat the leaves and they're a little bitter. They're kind of like dandelion leaves. They're not, to me, they're not unpleasant, but you can take the sap from the stem and put that in in alcohol for like 30 days and bacon. You'll like this one. And then just put it under the cupboard, right, for like 30 days and then strain it out, take the leafy stems and things like that out of there. And that's a tincture now. And it's a pretty decent bushcrafted pain reliever. You know, some people get really good effects from it. To me, it's like the equivalent of an ibuprofen. But if I didn't have anything, I would take that ibuprofen for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on hunting and fishing and that kind of stuff? Do you guys do any of that?
We do all of that. Mr. B on, I think the day after Christmas, shot a little hog out in the forest. So brought him home and canned him. You know, in the past, I have several videos on my other channel about roadkill deer. So we live in the national forest and it's very common for deer to get hit by the big trucks and all that. And it's a very rednecky sort of society here. So literally everybody will get out, they'll look at the deer and everybody will go, you want it? I don't know. Do you want it? You want it? You want it? And I'll go, I want it. So, I mean, like, it's still warm. Might as well not waste it. And the big yee trucks, you know, the big lifted trucks and all that. I mean, we've hit them with the Jeep before and not on purpose. They just run out. And so it doesn't really hurt. There's not an insurance claim. There's no, like, you know, nobody really even stops. You know, they stop, but like no one stops their day to call the police or anything like that. It just is what it is. Yeah. So driving from
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, driving from my house to town for the first 5 or 6 miles, every single morning I see at least 20 turkeys, wild turkeys, deer, rabbits. There's birds everywhere. It's like driving through a grocery store on my way to work. And I crossed 2 different rivers on my way to work full of fish. So
nice.
Might as well take advantage. Yeah.
Do you have a lot of gators there?
Yeah, there's a gator in our back pond. And then, I mean, like there's a gator across the street. There's a gator in my son's pond. They just are, but they don't, I mean, like, as Mr. B says, don't go messing with them and they won't bother you. So you just don't bother them and they don't bother you.
Yeah. They're all over the place where I go hiking and same thing, just kind of pay attention to where you're walking, you know, they're really only going to get aggressive for a human if like you come up on them and they feel threatened, you know, that's otherwise we're too big of a prey for them. They don't want to risk it.
Yeah.
Hey to everybody.
I try to tell people gators are really lazy.
They are. And the baby ones are cute.
They make that little noise.
Yep. Then the adults sound like a dinosaur. It's like the first time you hear it, it's like a really creepy growl. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hello to everybody who popped in. Appreciate it. I personally, Lazarus, I have not eaten it, but I've heard that it tastes like fishy chicken.
Oh.
Can you confirm that, Cynthia?
Chicken.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's really good fried, but you can fry somebody's big toe and it'll taste good. So, no, it does. It tastes like fishy chicken. A lot of people down in South Florida eat iguana as well. And I have never eaten iguana. So there, you got one on me.
I saw a comment. I want to go back just a little bit here. Who's Your Prepping Nurse was doing a series on sprouts, and a couple people asked about that. If one of the mods can, or Who's Your Prepping Nurse, if you can link that, that would be great. I watched it. I know which video you're talking about, and I really do think it's super important for everyone who's a prepper or homesteader to learn how to do that. It's one of the easiest skills to produce food really, really fast. Like within 5 days, you're going to have food.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one that I really think everybody needs to know.
So Bacon popped up in the chat. I see that he says, I'm not opposed to getting easy meat, but animals that have been hit by a car might have smashed organs that could spoil the meat. Only know what butchers you talk to. So what you do is you take the backstrap and the quarters, the shoulders, and that's it. You leave the rest of it. You only take the extremities. You don't go all the way into the deer. You just take the backstrap if it's not busted or whatever, and you can take the quarters, the legs.
Gotcha.
But yeah, you can't really get a whole lot else.
Depending on what kind of hit it took too, right?
Depending on what kind of hit, exactly.
And I don't know if everybody knew this, but in a lot of states, you can call your local state police, your state police, and get on a list. So if you're someone like me who's not a good hunter, and you can get on a list, and they'll call you if there's a roadkill in your area, and if you want, you can go grab it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
What about, so besides the food preps thing, which I think most people in the prepping community are really like pushing this, like, hey, this recession's getting worse and worse. Eggs are now, I've seen in some areas, eggs are $8 a dozen. Like, it's insane.
It's insane.
What else do you think people need to be focusing on going into 2023?
Shelter, security. Those are my top two. Make sure that your shelter is tip top. So if you need a front door, if you need new locks, you need a window, you need whatever, you need to get that and get it installed right away, because your four walls are going to be super important coming up. Whether that's, you need a secure place to live, and you may actually 10 people that you love as well. I mean, their houses may not be safe or, available or anything. So 4 walls, definitely 100%. Make sure you got a good roof. Make sure your steps are good. I mean, like, it's important. And then security for you or your family, whatever that means to you and your family. If that's cameras, or if, or if it's a fry pan, or whatever that means to you. And, that, and your health. That's number 3, health. Actually, that's making sure that you are super healthy. That's important. Because going into this, you do not want to have a disadvantage, like, whatever. You want to be yourself, spiritually, mentally, physically.
Yep. Yeah, and I've got a guest coming in the next few weeks here that's going to be talking about fitness, which it's always funny. I'm a part of several forums on Facebook and Reddit and things like that, and people get real sensitive when you bring up the importance of fitness for preppers. Like, people get really defensive about it. Listen, I'm not judging anybody. If there's anybody who needs to work on their health, I'm going to point to me first, right? But it is important.
Right.
Like, if you can't run, 2 miles, and I understand sometimes people may be in a wheelchair. So that's a whole different story. I'm talking about, I don't really have a good excuse, right? I should be able to run 2 miles before I get winded. I should be able to lift up, at least half my body weight above my head if I have to get something off of somebody, right? I should be able to lift that up I should be able to pick my wife up off the floor if she went unconscious. Like if I can't do those things, I got to get to it. I got to get working on it.
Right. Right. Yeah. So 2021, I had a major abdominal surgery. Like it was pretty serious. And they cut through my right hip flexor in the surgery. Yeah. So basically 2022 was getting all of that back, getting my mobility back, working on all of that so that I could, literally they cut through my entire abdomen and then cut through my right hip flex. So getting sit up, that's a long time, but boy, oh boy, I can do 30 of them now. And that's not I'm not going to a gym. I don't have a membership anywhere. I Googled on YouTube a bunch of physical therapy exercises and just started doing them, just 10 minutes. And nothing, serious or pushing myself really hard or anything, but I knew that I needed that back. Like I can't not be physically active and live this lifestyle on a homestead. It just can't.
Yeah. And yeah. I saw a couple of people are talking about like smoking and drinking. Now, I'm not here to judge anybody, but I think it's worth for, if you're watching this or you're listening to this, it's worth thinking about what if everything started to shut down tomorrow? What kind of a situation are you going to be in, right? Like, so if you're, I will happily admit I'm addicted to caffeine, like really, really bad. I love caffeine. And we have a lot of caffeine stored up, but eventually that would run out. And then I know how to forage yaupon, which is a caffeinated plant here. That would help. But eventually, like, you got to get that chemical out of your body and wean yourself off of it, which means for me, I would be going through some pretty sick withdrawals. I'd be getting headaches, sick to my stomach, right? So if you're listening to this and you've got some issues like that, just start thinking about it, right? Just thinking about, maybe you can just cut down a little bit so that if you had to go through withdrawal, it's not going to be as bad, right? Stuff, if you're a prepper, stuff to be thinking about, And again, I'm not trying to judge anybody or anything like that. It's just, we're just throwing out ideas here.
Right.
Yeah. And sometimes alcohol is going to be a bartering thing for some people. Everybody's going to have to make their own individual decisions about that. I know plenty of people who don't want to keep alcohol in the house because various reasons. Maybe it's been a past problem for them, or they don't want it to be a problem when things get bad.
Right. Right. Well, we have no alcohol and no cigarettes and none of that stuff, because that's not something that we're in recovery. So that's not something that we would ever have. What we have are straight up skills and, basically, I want to say about badassery. Okay. Like if you want to live, you better come hang out with us. So I don't want to say we don't need any of that, like all cocky or whatever, but it's just, it's not really in our wheelhouse, I don't think.
Yeah, good for you. That's awesome. I think you told me that before in the last stream.
Yeah, I'm pretty open about my recovery. I've got almost 14 and a half years of sobriety.
That's fantastic. Good job. So what other things could be bartering? We said maybe tobacco or alcohol, but what are some other things that you would think of, like if you needed to make some trades with people? What are some of the things that you guys you don't have to tell me all of it, of course, but what are some good ideas for people to stack for barter?
Sugar for sure, because people with kids are going to want sugar. People are going to want sugar. Like sugar is a huge one. Oddly enough, I was researching the black market the other day, doing a martial law video, and maple syrup is one of the biggest things on the black market. Yeah, chocolate is another one. So like your cocoa and cocoa powder and all that. I was shocked at the maple syrup. It was in top 10. Baby formula, that's always a huge one. Then like lamp oil or oil cooking fuel is a big one. So those are some easy things that you can store that don't take up a lot of room, except the sugar. That you can, oh yeah, salt. I see Forager's chick said salt as well. If you don't have salt, you are going to get very, very sick. Yeah. So that's
thank you, Lori.
a big one.
Lori's Thrifty Kitchen. No, I appreciate
Good night,
you
Lori.
having that. And then, yeah, who's your prepping nurse? I agree with this. Tinctures, medical skills, and being able to teach them to other people, right? Somebody said feminine hygiene products. That's a great barter item.
Oh
yeah,
yeah, there
absolutely.
you go.
Good one.
Yeah.
I love all the thinking outside the box here.
Yeah.
And Lee has
freedom seeds. That's a good one.
Yeah. Some people say they wouldn't because they'd be afraid that the person's gonna turn around and use it against them. I think if you're engaged in that kind of conversation with them, you can probably assume the other person is protecting themselves in some way anyways. So I don't think of that necessarily the same way.
Yeah.
If
medicine, that would be another good one.
Medicine. Yep. Over-the-counter medicines that you can, there's no limit on those which you can store. One of the things that Lee was talking about with Furfal's book about surviving the economic collapse in Argentina, when I read that book, I was really surprised at some of the items that Furfal said became bartering items. And it was like just your everyday comfort stuff. Like he was able to get business done by lipstick, like because lipstick became hard to get. And it's a comfort item. It makes you feel good about yourself. So he could he would go in and like basically get a meeting by bribing the clerical staff with a tube of lipstick. And it would get him
smart.
Toilet paper, right? We know that one now. I think everybody learned that one. Props to Canadian Prepper, by the way, who was the person in the community who warned everybody about that about 4 years ago that we should.
Oh my gosh!
That we should stop toilet paper. In fact, he got the nickname the toilet paper guy for a while because of that.
Jeez.
What's this one? Tannerite. I'm not going to go into what the purpose of that is. I do like that. All right. So we talked about food storage. What about financial prepping? What are your thoughts about that? What should people be thinking about in terms of that stuff for 2023?
Just try not to use your credit cards. Just try not to. I know that a lot of people have already used up all of their savings, and now, the credit cards are starting to come out more and more and more. And, like any financial channel is going to be like, pay off your debt, stop eating at Starbucks. Okay, we get that. But for real, actual people, just try not to use them. Just try, because it's slippery slope. Once you start, the interest starts adding. And before long, you are completely underwater. It's very hard. So just try not to use them. And then if you can pinch a penny, try to do it. Sometimes it takes some humility to, say, I'm really sorry, but I can't go out to eat with you guys tonight. Or I'm really sorry, but that movie isn't going to be a choice for me, to go out with everyone or whatever. And then there's going to be sacrifices and it's going to be uncomfortable. However, you'll thank yourself when your credit card statement comes and it's, lower or less or, not at all, which is wonderful. And then try, to have a little emergency fund again. And then, I don't know. I use the cash envelope system, always have. And after my surgery, Mr. B and I both had surgery with no insurance in 2021, 2 surgeries back to back. So basically 2022 was digging out of all of that. Yeah.
I love that, Corey. I'm not wasting my money. Say it with me now.
I'm not wasting my money. Yeah.
I will add, I agree with all of that. And especially, as these interest rates, the Feds are just going to keep jacking it up. So look at all your debt, right? Look at all your debt. and especially the ones that are super high interest rates, get that stuff paid down as quick as you can, because it's just like throwing money out the window. A couple years ago, interest was really, really low. Sometimes it made a little bit of sense that you could borrow and use that to build things like that. That's not the case right now. You got to be really, really careful about your debt. And one little thing that I would add to this, it's going to sound silly and corny, but it does add up, is if you like to use cash, which I do, Cynthia does, when you get your change, throw your change, start throwing it in a jar or, a big bucket or whatever. It sounds like, oh, that wouldn't do anything, but you'd be surprised after a couple months how much is in there. And there, during the great pandemic, we had change became like the banks didn't have change, right? Like, so it can be handy for a lot of stuff. You can, if machines get shut down, most places will still take cash. Vending machines will still take coins, right? And there's been times in my life when times were a lot harder than they were now, where I literally had to dig through and find change to pay for things, even gas, when you could still get gas for 99 cents a gallon, that got me through a lot of times.
Are we that old?
Yep. I am.
Me too.
Yeah. I missed 99-cent gas. That was awesome. Yeah. I used to, after my high school job, I'd take $5 and go put $5 in the tank, and that would get me most of the way through my week. Back in the day. Yeah.
Back in the day.
So Bacon says swear jars, and that's actually not a bad idea, but also, like, it can be anything, like any bad habit, right? So I'm constantly trying to get people to learn about and manage their mental health stuff. If you have a habit of like saying negative things about yourself, like I'm stupid, I'm fat, I'm lazy, I'm unlovable, right? Train yourself out of that by $1. You have to make yourself put $1 in the jar every time you catch yourself doing it. You'll stop. You'll stop. All right, so let's finish out with a couple things here. First aid and mental health. You started to talk a little bit about that stuff. What are your thoughts about? I think this is an area of preps that gets neglected by a lot of people, and we all have this like, I'm a tough guy mentality, I can go live in the woods kind of thing, right? But the reality, because I'm a therapist and I work with first responders, and they are very much tough guys, but it can break, your mental health can break under a crisis. It can get you can start developing nightmares, panic attacks, flashbacks. Like, you can be a very well functioning human being today. Something happens tomorrow and your world could change, right? Really, really fast. So understanding some basics about like managing mental health, such as we talked about a minute ago, be aware of negative thoughts about yourself, because people may think that's nothing. It's huge. How much you think negatively about yourself is like the leading cause of depression, right? This is what gets everybody started on that path. And then it may be other contributing factors, but that's what starts the path. What are your thoughts about mental health, first aid, and that kind of stuff? What kind of things do you do to stay mentally healthy for yourself and Mr. Biggs?
Definitely. I enjoy sharing with like-minded people. So having an accountability partner, I have several females that I am accountable with. Like this week, we're working on making sure that we're taking our vitamins, taking our medications, and taking the things that we, that are healthy for our bodies. And so having that kind of support group is fantastic when you are, working to improve yourself. So even if that means that you join a little Facebook group where you all take a walk every day or something like that, it's just nice. For me personally, prayer and meditation are big. And then, I do try to use solution-based thinking. And, I love a good Doom video on YouTube. I love them. Like Epic Economist, that dude, every morning I'm like, yes. But I know it's terrible. But then I put my thinking cap on and I'm like, okay, well, what do I do if X, Y, and Z happens? Well, let me think about, 3 things that I can think about that I would use if that happened. And, that's just basically being a trauma survivor anyway, is just going, how can I figure my way out of this? And then, I share it with all my viewers, because why not? Because, a lot of the prepping videos are very cyclical. Like right now, everybody's kind of doing the egg thing. So I have some videos on my other channel, The Big's Homestead Kitchen, like how do we cook without eggs? Yeah. How do we bake without them? How do we, so that's just me. I just try to figure my way out of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And you are a very positive person. Is that something that you had to work at, or has that always been natural for you?
I think the word they used to describe me as a kid was plucky. Like, you just couldn't ever get me down no matter what happened. And I've been through some pretty horrible things in my life, like some pretty down and out, rotten, terrible, crawl down the hallway kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But I don't have to live my life like that anymore. I always say God picked me. Mm-hmm. And how could you not be happy when God literally picks you and says, it's okay, you get to keep walking. It's all right. I got you. Mm-hmm. And then, how could you not have a smile? So that's nice.
And gratitude, right? Like gratitude is so important. And by the way, I am following the chat, guys. I saw your comments. I'm so sorry. And I hope that those of you have, there's a couple of people talking about homelessness and that kind of stuff. I hope that you're falling on better times now. If you've been with my channel for a while, there's a special place in my heart for people with homelessness. In fact, I've done a few videos about how to interact with people who are squatting in buildings and things like that.
Yeah.
Want to jump back to gratitude though. So a couple of years ago, I had an emergency surgery in the middle of the night. They told me if I hadn't come in, I'd be dead. Was in the hospital for a while, had to basically learn how to walk again. And I had my own little pity party in the hospital. Like, oh, poor me. Why did this happen to me? And I was in like the most unimaginable pain, the kind of pain that you wouldn't want to continue to live. That kind of pain, like unthinkable, blinding pain is the only way I could describe it. And I had a little pity party, like, oh, poor me, poor me, poor me. Why did this terrible thing happen to me? Right. And what got me out of it was whether God spoke to me or I came up with it myself, I started to think, you know what, Sarge, somewhere in this hospital is a little kid with leukemia. So shut up, just you got no right to complain. Whatever happens from now on, you've lived a full life. And I have. And I've had a lot of good things in my life, and I've been blessed with good friends and a wonderful wife. So once that hit me, I shut up and I was like, dang, you know what? I need to stop my pity party, and I need to pray for the little kids in this hospital because they need that even much more than I do, So gratitude.
Getting outside yourself, that's a big one.
Yep. But we talk a lot about that stuff here in the mental health. Just reading the comments. Some of y'all are funny. I'm
kind of chatting them. I'm like, oh dear.
Yeah. It's really funny when chat has you must see this too, when chat has their own conversations going on and you're like trying to follow that too, Yeah. So we talk a lot about how to manage mental health stuff, and I call it mental health first aid basically. So it's good for all preppers to learn some of this stuff. So not only for yourself, but if the SHTF happens, you're going to need it to help other people, right? So you want to learn things like box breathing or diaphragmatic breathing, which is basically how to slow your breath, how to regulate your breath. And what that does is it actually stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is going to tell your whole body to calm the heck down. Okay. So that's one. Things like cognitive thought stopping, which we were kind of talking about before, like when you're recognizing like my thought process is not helping me, I need to stop this, and just learning how to basically shut off that voice. And it takes a while, especially if you're prone to that, where like you spin in your head and you think and you think and you think, and what if this, what if that, right? Like if you have one of those kind of minds, it takes a little while, but you can learn how to do this too. And you can learn how to shut that stuff off. which is going to be really, really helpful when a tree lands on your house or there's, a wildfire in your neighborhood, and you gotta think, you gotta think clearly. So people should be hopefully thinking about that stuff too. So mental health and regular fitness and health, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So before I wind down to my speed questions here, right, the lightning round, do you have anything?
There's a speed round.
The speed round. Do you have anything that you wanted to talk about that we haven't hit on?
Wow. We've had a well-rounded conversation. So I'm just happy to be here, to be honest. This is always so much fun.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming back on the channel.
Yeah.
Let's go back through your stuff real quick, and then I'll do the lightning round. So Cynthia can be found, of course, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, and you also have a secondary channel called the Big's Homestead Kitchen.
The Big's Homestead Kitchen. Yep.
And I'm going to drop her main channel link here again. But if you're watching this on replay, you can just go ahead into description. You can find it there. Definitely give her a subscribe. She does great content, and always appreciate what you do, and that you do keep it positive. It's so important. All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. First thing that pops in your mind. Favorite book for the Prepper Library?
Alas, Babylon.
Okay. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Best flashlight for a prepper?
Ooh, Maglite.
Okay. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Okay. Glock or SIG?
Glock.
Okay. Remington or Mossberg?
Mossberg.
All right. Favorite knife?
Anyone that's sharp? Chef knife.
A chef knife. I love it. Okay. Favorite food for the prepper pantry?
Ooh. Say. It's so multi-purpose.
Again. You echoed a little.
Rice, because it's so multi-purpose. Stores a long time.
Yep, that's a good one. And there's people all over the world that are living off of it every day, right?
Absolutely.
Like that's their main meal. Yep. And Beatles or Rolling Stones?
Ooh, neither.
Oh, favorite survival movie?
Book of Eli.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
You got to have some Denzel,
He is fantastic. That's a great movie.
I love that he can smell the people. Like that right there is like such an awesome thing, because you have to use all of your senses, not just your eyes. Yeah.
And I don't want to spoil it if anyone hasn't seen it yet, but there's a little twist to it. Did you figure out the twist before the end?
Yes.
You did?
It's like one of my favorite movies. I'm like, it's been a while since I've seen it though. Yeah. Book of Eli is a good one.
Are you going to watch The Last of Us?
Oh, you're right. Yes. We tuned in tonight to see if it was on, and we were bummed because it doesn't come on until next week.
Next week. Yeah. So those of you in chat, if you're not familiar with it, I think it's coming on HBO, right?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. But The Last of Us is it's a great story. It's based on a video game that actually is one of the best video games I've ever played. It's this like pandemic. The creatures in there are like zombies. They're not zombies, but they're zombie-like. And it's post-dystopian after like everything's completely fallen apart. And I don't want to say too much more than that, but it is a really good story. So if those of you who played the video game, you know what I'm talking about. Check it out. I think you'll like it. Especially since The Walking Dead is finished now. People are probably looking for something new.
The Walking Dead jumped it for me when they killed Glenn. Sorry.
Same. I stopped watching it then. Yeah. I tried to go back to it and I couldn't get back into it.
Yeah, Mr. B actually just finished it not long ago, and I was like, nope, pass. And also they made Carol like this wimpy chick. I can't do it.
Yeah, that's weird because she was like one of
Can't do
the
it. I don't know
strongest
what's
characters.
going on with my light.
Oh,
She was, yeah. And then they took that away from her, and it just didn't work out for me.
all right. I'm gonna do one last pass through. So if you haven't seen, if you asked a question and I missed it, please go ahead and throw it in caps. I'll try to catch it now. I'm gonna go one more pass through here. Bacon wants to know, what's your favorite frozen pizza for the apocalypse?
Frozen pizza.
Do you have a brand that you like?
I don't know. Tostinos? I don't even know. I'm sorry. Sorry, Bacon. I'll let you down.
Red Baron's really good for frozen pizza. And Lazarus says, Bacon asks the really relevant questions.
Right? Everyone wants to know, Cynthia. Oh, the stand. That's a good one.
I'm watching that right now. Yeah.
Are you?
The new one. There was an earlier one. When did that first one come out? Was it in the 90s?
Had to have been, because I think it had Molly Ringwald in it.
It did. And so I'm watching the newer one now, which is on, I think, Paramount or Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
I think Shane's asking, do you have a favorite gun? Do you want to answer that?
The one that I have with me all the time.
The one that's fully loaded.
The one that's, the one that's got 2 clips.
All right, we got some Glock fans. We got some.
I'm trying to think of another apocalypse movie that I like. I saw someone say The Road, and honestly, that is not one of my favorite movies because it's the closest to real, and it's
so depressing,
heartbreaking.
Yeah,
it's heartbreaking. So that's not entertainment. That's a tutorial.
Yeah, the Road is very, very depressing. It's hard to watch.
Yeah, it's not entertaining.
Let's see if we missed anything else here. I'm just checking to see if we had any more. We got some Jennifer Beal fans here. The Y Files. I'm not familiar with that. Do you know what that one is?
No, I don't. Nope.
Okay.
Oh, the original Red Dawn. That is a classic.
It is. I don't like the remake, or the second one. It wasn't really a remake. It was kind of its own story. I didn't like it.
And it was an advertisement for Subway. I'm like, how do they have a Subway fully stocked with people eating sandwiches in the middle of the apocalypse? I do not understand.
Yeah. Hey, a good survival movie that a lot of people might not know about is The Gray. It's got Liam Neeson. It's set in like really remote area of Alaska. And there's I'm not giving away too much here. There's a plane crash and the survivors are basically in the middle of gray wolf country. And so they become the prey.
Oh,
yeah, it's a really good survival movie. Yep. Well, thank you, everybody. Just checking one more time, see if I missed anything. I think we're good. I don't see any other questions. Really appreciate you, Cynthia, and I really appreciate everybody in chat. Thank you so much, everybody. I want to kind of finish with a couple quick statements here. Number one, please, again, check out Cynthia's channel and check out all of the mods. I saw Sassy was helping. I saw Lee was helping. I know Bacon was helping. If I missed anybody else there, Prepping by Faith was in here earlier as well, too. Please go ahead and check all of them out. All good channels, a lot of fun. I know Bacon usually goes live later on Friday nights, so check him out. Also, check out Who's Your Prepping Nurses sprouting video. Definitely, you guys need to learn that if you don't know how to do it. It's super important, and it's easy, and it's fun, and it's the fastest way to produce fresh food. You don't need sunlight. You don't need a lot of space. It's really, really good. You need to know how to do that one. Everybody else, you know what? Thank you for watching. If you're watching this on replay, if you're getting your weekend started, have a great time. Make sure you hug your loved ones, hug your pets. You all know what I just went through with Ray, our bulldog. We're dealing with it. We're healing, but we miss her terribly. And thank you, everybody who sent us nice messages about that. The thing about being a pet owner is that most likely you, the human, are going to outlive them. It's part of the process. you get as much love out of them and give them as much love as you can in that time period. So as soon as we're done, go hug your pets, tell them how much you love them, and cherish that moment. All right. Keep planting your seeds. Keep stacking your silver. This is Cynthia and Prepping with Sarge.
Bye, everybody.